I think what surprises me the most about working with you and your team is there's always that next level. To know, I think it's like, wow, right when I think I've got all figured out, here's that next level right here waiting on me. So I think that probably is, and the consistency, professionalism that you always have, whatever you're talking about, you have that tool or resource right behind you to support you in it. So that makes a big difference.
All right, Amy. So briefly describe your business. What do you do? What's your genius? What's your magic?
Yeah, so I'm Amy Carter, founder of Empowering You Consulting. I started this company about 15 years ago because I'm a salon and spa owner as well. And when I hired Susie's company over 20 years ago, I hired them because I realized everything I learned in my accounting world did not compute to the beauty world. And as I love Susie dearly, she also sold her business with Salon Trainer International and left a huge gap in this industry. And that's really where Empowering You came about because my passion is supporting salon and spa owners and creating a business that they love, all while having a team that is thriving. And so that's kind of about how Empowering You came about, and that's what we're up to.
So let's talk about where you were before we started working together in terms of revenue and growth and systems and strategy. And then where are we now?
Yeah, I mean, I hired you because you've done it. You've been there, done that. And so when I met you years ago, as your company supported me in my salon and spa, and then fast forward creating the company very similar to what you had created, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just had an idea, concept, dream, and I really realized shortly into it that it was nothing that I knew in this world. And so hiring you on just gave me that freedom, knowing that when somebody's been there and it goes so much faster, quicker, sooner, and a lot better strategy in place.
And so let's talk about revenue growth. What have you seen? Your service growth? Like, why do you keep coming back? 20 years is a long time to work with the same person.
The reason why I come back year after year is because we are one, a really great partnership. Whenever we do say we're going to do whatever it is, it goes really well because are the yin and the yang of each other. So it's really, really powerhouses in front of the room. Also, too, Empowering You continues to grow year after year. When we first started working together, 200, 300% increases. I had to recreate a whole pricing structure, compensation structure, like some of the hardest conversations I've had because I really just didn't know what it didn't know. So whatever people told me I should do, I just did it without a strategy. I was just pulling out my ass constantly. Whenever I brought you on, it actually started making sense, and the company was able to break, we have different ceilings in the business. And so I was just like, my little ceiling of like these little baby billings I used to have, like, oh my gosh, so adorable to what it is today. I contribute all that to you, Susie, and your knowledge.
I love that. So before we started working together, you've kind of talked about it, but your main challenges, right, that were in place. What was the biggest challenge in growing this consulting firm?
I just like it's like we can only get only a certain amount of people in our programs. I look back at these pictures, I'm like, oh my God, we had 8 people, 10 people. Like it was just such a small baby impact we were making. And I wanted to go bigger, louder, stronger. And so it was just that cap. I don't know. It was like we just had like a cap on. We could only get 10, we could only get 15. Oh my God, we finally got to 20. Like it was just like small increments. Like it was just time to blow up everything that I had done and learn a better way of doing it.
And so what processes have changed since working together?
Well, right out of the gate, we obviously changed pricing structure, the way that we serve our clients, compensation with my consultants, onboarding new consultants was huge. How we delivered our trainings, how we learned to sell in front of the room, overarching just like better systems also for the empowering you clients. So not just empowering you, but also just some better tools and resources for our clients. And I think some of the biggest things that really made a difference for me was um like I brought on Holly and like just different resources that I needed, knowing that I didn't have to be an expert at infusion software. Now it's Keep or whatever. I was trying to be the expert of all these softwares, and it was really stressful. Like I was setting up my campaigns dangerously. And so being able to outsource people that actually knew what they were doing, they were able to get action and traction a lot faster than I ever could.
So let's describe your time commitment, right, during our collaboration. Like how much time, additional time is it adding to what you're already doing? And what did we take care of?
Yeah, so um it could be a full-time job if I actually let it, and it probably should be. So my goal is actually, actually blocking out like some really solid days because some of these projects, they're huge, they're big, they're time consuming, but they also work. And then we can rinse and repeat them. Like when we created Masters Academy, it was a huge lift. But now we're 5 years down the road and now we're just tweaking stuff along the way. So for me, it's like the time commitment can be a lot, actually, and also when these things are in place, it can then become very easy for rinse and repeats.
I think what I love about working with you is one, you're coachable. So talk about how we need to be coachable when we hire a coach. Talk about the results that you've created, in our sessions, and then how has that changed your business?
Yeah, I would say, of course, like why hire a coach and not be coachable? Doesn't make a lot of sense. So for me, I have to trust the process. It has to make sense. So you were able to take your really big ideas and break it down for more of a linear experience that I need to have. So once I can actually see the clear path, it's completely understandable, doable, and I just rock it out. So it is breaking down Susie's big ass ideas that she will give you and then going, okay, this actually does make sense. And at the end, there is a golden pot. So really trusting the process, I think is something I had to learn along the way that it does work itself out.
Yeah, sometimes you need someone to see the best in you because our
Right.
limiting beliefs, everyone thinks they're handling their limiting beliefs, but talk about that for you and what the breakthrough was and just looking at that.
I mean, I constantly actually have it coming up all the time. Like I had an upper limit problem yesterday. I was like, right when we swing out really big, at least for me, it's like I can definitely self-sabotage it in a second. Fascinating. I had not done that in a while and actually did it yesterday. And what I love is having a coach that's standing there like, no, this is the game you need to be playing. This is the game you're playing. This is the game you need to be playing. It's really easy for me just to keep on playing the same game over and over, regardless how boring it might be for me. But that stretch is, I think, important to do and to actually take it on.
So we have some big projects that we're working on right now for the next 6 to 12 months. So talk about that. Where do you see your business in the next year based on the things that we're putting in place?
Well, hopefully, I just don't go completely go side crazy putting them all together. But yes, timelines are so important, you guys, when it comes to these bigger projects, at least for me. Like tomorrow, I'm literally sitting for an hour and a half with I have a person that babysits me essentially that will make sure I stay on track and everything will be put in my calendar so that all timelines will be hit. Because if I don't do that, I just forget all about it and it is not good. So, yes, in the next 6 months, we have some pretty big ass projects that are going to be happening but it's next layer, it's next level, it's next, like it needs to happen. Can I keep on doing what I'm doing? 1,000%. Do I want to do that? No. Like I do think in the next year, it is about the evolution of what is next. And I think finally I'm actually ready for it because I feel like we have, even though Susie might say, oh, this, I see you here doing this, and this we also have to really like believe that. But taking the steps, even whenever you don't believe it, I think is really important because eventually it becomes your truth.
And then what do you see what's going to happen with the revenue when we implement these?
Well, my hope is is that, having another couple of multiple revenue streams coming in the door, better qualified leads, to be completely honest with you. Like, having different revenue streams coming in is one thing, but to having really beautifully qualified people to play with is what I want. So my hope is that it's, another program or two that we can offer that are bigger hitters. We have a couple of really big hitters in this company, but it's like I need a couple more bigger hitters. So my hope is that we'll increase revenue at least by 30% or 40% next year by adding on these programs and maybe saying goodbye to some programs, being okay with let's not put our energy there because it's just pennies on the dollars.
Right. And so based on, what surprised you the most? Let's talk about masters. What surprised you the most? Because I know that was a big lift for us to implement into your business. What surprised you the most?
That we
And
finished it? No.
and what misconceptions did you have?
One, it was finally, I feel like I birthed an animal the day that an elephant, the day that it finally wrapped. It's the very last modular training workbook. I don't even know. I look back at these trackers, I swear, I think, how did we do it? We had so many people involved in that project. what I thought would never going to happen was it was never going to be complete. And I had no idea what we were doing. I just came and we recorded and this and that. And I had to totally just trust this process. And so what I learned was I used to think everything had to be buttoned up and bow tied and everything like all wrapped up beautifully. And what I learned is you can actually sell things and not even have it created yet, which is what we did with Masters Academy. And I was like, this is so back-ass words. I don't even know what we're doing right now, but okay, I'm trusting this process. So sometimes we don't have to have everything perfect to go ahead and just sell it anyway, knowing that your product will be ready to go.
And what surprises you the most about working with us?
Um, s- Surprises me the most. I think what surprises me the most about working with you and your team is there's always that next level. You know, to know, I think that's it's like, wow, right when I think I've got all figured out, here's that next level right here waiting on me. So I think that probably is, and the consistency, professionalism that you always have, whatever you're talking about, you have that tool or resource right behind you to support you in it. So that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think the blessing of working outside the industry is we get to bring all these concepts that other businesses are doing that are not in our industry, right? In
Yeah.
the beauty industry, right? So talk about that a little bit and the value that brings to your business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really great at being a salon owner. I can do that with my eyes closed, honestly. You know, I've been doing it for 22 years. That's not the problem. The problem was empowering you. And so for me, I think knowing that I had the right resources. I had you as a resource. I had you as your knowledge. Like you thought bigger, you think bigger, you go out to the places and you bring back in that knowledge. And to hear, to me, it's like it's easy to swim in the same stuff. Like I can go to conferences all day long inside the beauty industry, but you bring a special expertise in that really empowering you needs that to me is priceless.
So talk about the investment because there's people who are like, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. And I know we
It
talk
is
about,
expensive.
and so talk about if someone's on the fence and like, oh, I don't want to spend that. Talk about that.
I didn't either. No, I did not either. Susie is my largest expense I have. And it also pays for itself. So you have to, if you trust the process, if you actually do the work, you have to do the work. You have to trust the process. You have to swing out and go bigger. You can't play the same game. If you do take that stuff on, I promise you, it does pay for itself 10 times easily, but you just have to be willing to do the work and actually trust it. But the investment does work.